Welcome back to Critical Minds with Rosa, and as promised, guys, we always have a hot topic up for discussion because we want to keep you informed as it relates to what is happening and how we feel about it. So today we have a very hot topic. We're looking at oppression against Rastafarians, and we will be going in detail with this. Check it. Right, so as we know in the media, it has been circulated that a female teenager was arrested, and while incarcerated, she was trimmed. They cut her locks, and we are here to find out why. Let's talk.
Straightforward.
Yeah, we want to know
why they cut off the
we want to know.
maliciousness.
For me personally, I think it was a personal vendetta. Personally, for me, it was a personal vendetta because if you're all right. So one person from saying that they had cut her here because they thought she was going to commit suicide, or it would be possible for her to commit suicide using her locks. No, I did some research on my own, and I looked up the young lady before her locks were cut. Now remember, if you're gonna strangle yourself or hang yourself with something, it has to be long enough to go around your neck and then attach to something that can support your weight, correct?
Yes.
Her locks weren't that long. They weren't long enough for her to actually hang herself with it. That's one. And two, it is well known that as a part of the Rastafarian movement, your locks are important to you. They actually have to take a vow as a Rastafarian to actually, be a part of their movement, or rather their religion. So for you to basically cut someone's hair, you're infringing on their religious beliefs.
All right. And just for those who might not have been aware as to what is happening, because they always say, there are two sides to the story. Now, allegedly, based on the information received, it is observed that this young lady was in a taxi. Okay?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the police and the taxi driver is in some disagreement or conflict. He wants the persons in the taxi to get out. Now, you spray a pepper spray inside a vehicle. That's the first thing. The second thing, she said allegedly that when she came out of the taxi, she had to remove the mask. Of course, who can breathe if you're being pepper sprayed, right? So you remove the mask. You're now going to say you're going to charge me for breaching the COVID-19 protocols. People, do we live in Jamaica? Have you walked downtown? Do we see anybody or some people who do not wear the mask? What kind of COVID-19 protocol they're talking about in breach? So while I'm not against, of course, wearing your mask and whatnot, how can you now state that you are going to arrest someone, right, because they're not wearing the mask after you've pepper sprayed them, right? And not only that, you move further now to trim her locks. Now, I want persons to look at it this way, because for some reason, people have issues when it comes down to Rastafarian, and we've seen this in the media. It was last year, 2 years ago, a young lady was not accepted into school because of her hairstyle. And the history has shown the oppression against these particular people. Now, what I'm saying is, if it is that you are going to know, this is she's not a minor, but yes, she still has a guardian. You want to tell me she didn't get a phone call? The last I checked, you get a phone call, right?
Yeah, but Roseanne, even so,
and that could have gotten
when they interviewed her, because the media went and interviewed her, several media houses went and interviewed her, she was not told that she could just pay the fine and leave. They told her that she had to go to court. That's one. Two, her mother went to the prison twice, and she was denied the right to see her mother. That's another thing. And based on what I'm saying, and this is one of the reasons why I said it had to be a personal vendetta. She was not fed from Thursday through to Sunday, and her mother brought food every day, and she was not fed. She was also not allowed to take care of herself, because she did mention that she was on her menstrual cycle. She was not allowed to tidy, go use the restroom, or make any changes that are required of a woman while she's experiencing this thing that happens every month. So for me, that's personal, because I don't understand. Okay, so she's not within the COVID-19 restrictions. Fine. Okay, no problem. You take her to prison. Why are you telling me that you're denying her basic body functions? Why are you telling me that this minor, because she is a minor, she's under what? She's under 18, if I'm not wrong?
No, I believe
right? She's 19.
Isn't
she's
she
19?
19, yes.
Yeah, 19.
She was going to nursing school.
Okay, so she's 19, okay, but she was denied the right to see or speak with anyone. That doesn't make sense to me. It had to have been personal. And the fact of the matter, based on what the young lady said, she said her hair was cut twice. The first time, the scissors was too dull. And then they went back and got another scissors to cut her hair. That is a personal vendetta.
That is true.
Has to be.
And most likely it's something to do with the mother, because when you look at the whole portrayal of the entire process, the mother is really at the forefront, talking about how, you know, they're never going to trim another Rasta again. That's a statement to say that, you know, I really want to make an example out of this situation. And the statement is that if the police is in a situation where they're wrong, they're still granted immunity. Right? There's not much that they're going to do about it, or to protect the civil rights of the person overall. Right? Because if you look at it based on the explanation, by the way, big up the young lady who was articulate enough to recall the situation. So that way, you know what I mean, we could at least see what go on and have two sides to the coin, because usually it's only the police side here. On top of that, now, she's explaining that, you know, they're going for a particular person who is going as far as to punch the police, right, and get into physical altercations with the police, while she and another lady is in the vehicle, right? The pepper spray attempt, it's not like it was a concise attempt where they're only aiming at the man in question. You understand? Everybody I get pepper spray. And really, based on what I understand, it's her vocal nature towards the fact that, you know, they weren't more careful with dealing with the matter. And her kind of speaking out to say that, listen, you're wrong, you need to take accountability and so on. So it's like going, who you feel like you be? Let me go so boom and make you an example now. But thank God this young lady is so articulate, because at the end of the day, if she wasn't able to bring across the story and be smart enough to say, all right, a Corporal Mitchell, you know, or, you understand, whoever did the deed, so to speak, I was able to describe it, even in her trauma, besides what she got through. Her being able to explain these stories at the end of the day was putting these guys in jeopardy, you know. So it's kind of like a them versus media situation. This is the kind of thing that will bring across some kind of democratic reform, because here's a gray zone, two of them wrong, how you get to decide who is right.
Yeah, but her basic human rights were denied, because we all have the right to observe our own religious practices.
But not only that, because I like the fact that Craig brought this up, because, you know, it was something that slipped me, because apparently she was speaking up for her rights. She was approaching the police, and this is not what was stated explicitly, but based on what you could understand. Because if you were just a simple onlooker, a police would not detain you. Do you get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They would not detain you. So it seems to me as if she was saying, why you would do that? You understand? You and the driver of a issue. Persons are in the car and you decide to pepper spray the vehicle. That is my impression of it, people. I'm not saying that this is what took place, but based on what was said, you get the idea that, okay, there was some conversation going on. But then it comes back to our human rights. We have freedom of expression. Yeah, I should be able to express myself. If you do something wrong, I should talk about it.
That is indeed true.
If I may interject at this point, right? So here you have an individual who, that something happens publicly, right? And they are addressing it in the moment because they are somewhat aware of the many rights we should have as citizens of the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the citizen here just representing herself in the moment, and it allows you, or it ends up that you're being detained, right, for
Mm-hmm.
speaking in the moment. So sometimes I have to be looking at the broader topic and wonder if it's a case where as citizens they don't expect us to be educated beyond a certain point to know
Mm-hmm.
what is legal, or what we should know. They don't know that they're common citizens, common folk. They should not be knowledgeable about what
Mm-hmm.
we can do, our mode of operation when going about on duty. So sometimes when the man, they don't think you should know certain things, they tend to abuse the situation, and this can be a case,
Mm-hmm.
right? As I said, there are two sides to a coin. So we are not physically there in the moment, so we don't understand what really went down, but the end result is poor.
Yeah.
The end result
No, but that's a
is,
great
But then
assumption.
look
I
at,
would say that's a
yeah,
very good assumption. Because sorry to cut you, Akila, but
that's
in
fine.
regards to the assumption, it is that this young lady, having locks and carrying herself how she carry herself, she's of a certain socioeconomic level,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if
So
them run her profile and them end up seeing that her mother go to jail. So
yeah,
in regards to this lady, they might say, "Cho, a girl, we can bother her up now, and
yeah.
deal with her a certain way, because she not have the sense or
The support.
the
That is the
medium,
thing,
the
I
voice. But you
believe
notice
they
one
did
thing
not
before
know.
make Akela continue. It's
Mm-hmm.
three women in the video, of
Yep.
course. And
They
it's
didn't
three
know.
women in the video talking about it in the Gleaner video. I don't think that's ironic at all. You
Exactly.
understand? Women supporting
Exactly.
women in that situation because they know so otherwise the voice will get stamped out.
That
Yeah,
is
but
the
Yeah.
thing.
let's look at this though. This young lady is articulate enough to defend herself and also to come to the forefront, come to the media and let us know what took place in her opinion of, well, her recitation of the events that took place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Mm-hmm.
look at it this way. What about the persons who aren't articulate enough to speak up? What about those persons? That means that a lot of things went unpunished. And
Mm-hmm.
few years ago, we had a young man who
Very
died
true.
in police custody because he was abused in police custody, and it wasn't by other inmates, it was by police officers. And the problem with this is that all the time things like this happen, it gets swept under the rug. It gets swept under the rug. I believe it was last year, if not last year, the year before, a former police corporal was pepper sprayed in his vehicle because
Oh, I saw that video.
pulled him over and he was executing, quote unquote, a search, and he asked
Search.
him to step out of the vehicle, and he
And
said
he
that
denied.
basically broke his constitutional rights. Now you're
Yeah.
telling me every single time that it is John Q public that is the issue? No, I am not saying that young lady was right, and she blatantly admitted that her behavior was not the right way to go about it initially. She admitted that, but that does not give you the right to go and cut somebody's hair.
Yep.
So let's say I'm an individual, right? Knock on wood. So let's say I'm an individual and I was detained for something. You have many reasons you can be detained. You can be detained because you are in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
You can just be detained just for normal circumstances. Because I can be in a taxi right now and that driver has outstanding tickets and they decide that, hey, you know what, instead of you letting everybody else go about their normal business, they're just going to detain you guys to see if anybody have any outstanding warrants. Though you understand things like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
imagine me, myself, as a man, we go down there, and I'm being detained, and you go look at me and say, boy, you're here too long, maybe we have to go cut that because the fear say, yeah, go,
Kill yourself.
make attempts at your own life. I mean, we don't know how the jail system works still, but have on shorts and pants and them thing down at jail and man have on marine and them because
Come
something
on.
there. Them thing
Mm-hmm.
there too, man, if you tie it the right way, you still can do good harm, you understand? So The whole logic behind it, though,
doesn't make any sense. If I were the it would be more possible for me to hang myself with my braids than the young lady. No, let's be realistic. Than the young lady to hang herself with her hair. Because her hair was short, her hair was like shoulder length.
Yep.
And then this is the thing about it. More and more things have been coming to light where the police are abusing their power. Let's talk about the young man who was killed on I believe it was at Barnet View, where he and his friend were walking about an hour before curfew, and police rode up on them and told them to run. The young man had a heart condition. He ran, he collapsed, and when they took him to the hospital, he was pronounced dead.
I remember that one.
All because they were chasing him out of fun. No, this young man lost his life because police decided that they are going to abuse their power, and they were going to say, "Oh, they were outside of curfew." You know, when the young man when they brought him to the hospital, the curfew still had not been in effect as yet.
Wow!
So that it was a clear abuse of their power.
You know what I would like to know, what I would love to know, are there mediums in place for us as citizens to understand the modes of operation of the security forces?
Of course.
Right? That should be something that that should be something that is pretty much open to the public.
It is right? It is open, however,
because remember, you know,
it's very.
If you can remember, Akela and I had a discussion. That one is not aired as yet. And it was about our legislation as it relates to sexual harassment. Now, people, I want you to understand this, because up to the other day we were having this conversation. These information is out there to the public, but guess what?
It's hard to access.
The normal public is not only to access it. The regular man
can be yeah, exactly.
You want to understand it. You pull up a document or a legislation.
You cannot understand a legal document.
It is a legally binding document. There's nothing that is summarized for you to understand. You're going to see in section A as it relates to clause 2 and this and that and this and that. If you do not get a lawyer, you cannot understand. And this is what we're talking about. In addition to that, it was brought to my attention after we did that podcast, because we were wondering, why is it the Majesty, the Queen, had to be the head of that legislation? And that is when it was brought to my attention that even though we are independent, we are still under the monarch.
Queen's rule.
Right? Yeah. So the state is still, the highest level is still under the Queen. So these legislations now that we're going to talk about, just like Leighton said, your clothes can cause harm. There are other things you use within the place that can cause harm. It comes back to oppression, because what? The law was designed under those jurisdictions. You get what I'm saying? So it is time for us as a people to understand that, hey, we got to cut the crap. We have to cut the crap. This needs to be revisited. And if it is a law that you must cut somebody, listen, my hair is my identity. So not even if I'm Rastafarian, I'm looking at it now, just my hair. Somebody was just to hold me and cut my hair, whether I'm creamy or I can roll it or whatever, you just hold me and cut my hair, you're taking away my identity.
Yep.
And that is at a different level for me now. That reached a different level.
But Rosie, going right back to what you said about the law not being set in a way that persons can understand it. The young lady clearly said that she didn't even know she could just pay the fine and leave. She said it. She said if she had known, she have paid the fine and left. So they detained her and they didn't even need to do. They lied to her and said that she had to wait on a judge.
Right, because at the end of the day, they also mentioned that she was not being held for disorderly conduct. Right. They were saying that she was held for COVID.
You know what I must say to you know, I have a family member who's pretty much involved in the education system. She's a teacher by profession, and recently she was pointing it out to me that it will become mandatory for them if they want to go back to school to take the vaccine.
Yep.
And as you guys were mentioning earlier about freedom and a choice, right? It's not being given as a choice anymore. It's being mandated,
That is
right? And I mean, when we think about it, um, if the proof, if the evidence was there that being vaccinated makes a difference, then sure, right? By no means would people reject it, right? But getting the vaccine still doesn't ensure that you cannot be a vector for the disease or the
That is
virus.
correct.
You're still a vector, whether it be you're catching it or you're the one passing it on, right? So it doesn't interfere with you, right? And even looking back at let's reverse to the young lady situation, right? Let me be a little bit petty even at this point, because the first rule of life is who you're born to,
Yep.
right? If the person who you're born to is not of a high social status or not recognized in society, then right away we can know that hey, certain things will not happen to you, right? And that's a must. That is a given. Persons don't have to agree, but it is a given.
It is true.
If you're born in a lower social class, according to the societal structure, hierarchy, the pyramid, then you know that once you're born in a lower class, you are less educated about the certain important aspects of society and the structure of society. So I know that if this young lady was born to another individual, I don't think they would even have to go for another scissors. I think the pepper spray.
I don't think her locks would get cut at all. Right?
I think wouldn't have to reach
and that leads to our next point, right?
Yeah. That's the next point. My thing is, Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh. No, what I was saying is that the next point that leads to is, do you now teach kids based on their background or based on their demographic? How to address police and not the other way around? Yeah, that's what I say.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not
at the end of the day, nobody can just have a respectful conversation. So,
but then let me ask you this: do you actually think the police know the law?
They should know it.
Do you think the police know the law? Let me ask you.
No, I don't think so.
I think the only persons that knows the law are actual lawyers.
Because let me show you. Look at this. If you guys recall, a few months ago, a member of parliament, Everett Warmington, had an issue with some police officers.
And he called. Who did he call?
Dr. Chang. Let's be realistic. Based on the gazette that was released, because he's a member of parliament, he was exempt from having to obey the curfew hours. Yes. Based in a nutshell. Right? Yeah. Every time the police would harass him, because he even said it in the video. He said, "You're harassing me. This is about the third time you're coming to me with the same thing." No, I'm not saying however Warmington behavior was right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying how he behaved was right. But let's look at the reality of it. Had a regular citizen behaved the way how he behaved, it would have been a whole different conversation. And then let me give you another example, and this is one of the reasons why, for me, I try my very best to stay out of within the curfew hours. So I was working one day and I got the letter from my workplace to say that, okay, this person was at work and, let her through. No, I know I have an issue sometimes with my attitude. I'm aware of it. I'm working on it. Okay, it's taking time, but I'm working on it. Lord. Right? No, I came across a roadblock and the police, basically, they blocked the road. So I was in the vehicle and the driver of the vehicle was there as well. They asked the driver for why we're on the road. I answered. I said, he's picking me up. I'm coming from work. Well spoken, I'm speaking like I'm somebody's child.
Outstanding citizen.
Yes. So I then passed. He said, "Do you have the letter?" I said, "Sure." I provided him with my letter. The person from the army, the JDF, right? Yeah. He took it, he read it, and he said, "Okay, let her through." A police officer now took it from him and said, "No, you can't let her through." because a party she come from. Now, bear in mind, I was coming from work. I wasn't dressed as if I was going to a party. Because based on where I work, I can't dress like I'm coming from a party. And then he and the driver of the vehicle that I was in started having this entire dialogue. I stopped talking. Because obviously this person doesn't know the law. Or he did not read the Gazette. Because I provided my identification showing that, okay, this is where I'm employed at. I provided you with my letter and then you're still hindering me. And they constantly do things like this. Now, this was a minor incident. Minor.
Yep.
But let's be realistic. How many times have we heard the year-old story? Police entered an area, gunshots were fired at them, they returned gunshots, and then they escaped into the nearby bushes. How many times have we heard that?
They're always nearby bushes.
Yes, there's always nearby bushes, even in central Kingston. Like there's no bush in Kingston. But there are always nearby bushes. And the thing about it is it's going a bit far away from the topic, but the reality is that I believe the police has too much power and they have very little persons to report to. Because if this young lady had not come out and said something, there would be no investigation. There would have been no investigation. Should have just been lost in the system and then no one would know about it. And then it would recur. And then even till this day, the only time we knew who cut her hair was when a young lady disclosed the person who cut her hair.
Yeah.
So
nobody disclosed it besides her.
So let's declose the question a little bit, right? Let's take away the fact that this was done to a person with locks, right? Let's take away the fact that it was done to a female, right? So let's say this was done to any other normal citizen. Right? When I have locks, you have Kano. Let's take away the fact that them cut your hair, right? So take away the cut hair thing and look at the many other civil rights that were pretty much breached, completely. Right? So yeah, so looking at that now, where do we stand as the government of the country? Because the persons in parliament are representatives of the government, which is us, the people, right? So what does this project for the majority of the population? Because regardless of what we want to think, the lower class makes up the majority of it, right? So if this happens to her, this can happen to anybody except those
1%.
In the 1% of the upper class, the population. Because you know, once you're born to a certain individual, once them stop your car and your name so and so, it will go no further.
So and so.
Yeah.
If you look at her, it goes no further.
A particular way, it goes no further. You understand?
And that's a factor of capitalism and classism, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Pretty much. So
because I had an altercation with the police as well. He pulled me over. He said license and registration. I gave it, no hesitation, and then he walked off and he's writing a ticket. I mean, I went
and they don't inform you why?
No information.
No,
when I went over to him, sir, I said good morning, because I don't want to be having an attitude. I said good morning, sir. He answered. I said, what is it that you're doing? I can't see, but I want him to state it. I'm writing you a ticket. I say,
for what?
Sir, why are you writing me a ticket? I already told Mr. Sir, and I recalled the conversation. The fellow colleague, because they have power, you know, they get boisterous when they're ready. The fellow police said, not the young man now who was writing the ticket. You know if you talk, now. If you know how to pay it, you got quote. When you got quote, you talk. You understand?
You contest it. No, that don't make no sense.
You understand? This is what I'm talking about.
Line, right?
Something needs to be done, because I was very, very upset that morning. Very upset. And their fellow colleagues were passing along the roadside and said, lady, shut up and pay the ticket. It wasn't a problem in paying the ticket because I can pay the ticket. The problem is the way in which it was handled. Why are you giving me a ticket? I need to be informed. So these are some of the things that they are not, they're not doing. And it's the same thing with the young lady, as we've said time and time again. They're not
police
informed.
Don't. But not only that, police don't do the right thing for the proper protocol unless they are sure that there is a crowd or that they are seeing somebody recording them. You see, the minute they see you recording, they start behaving above board. They start acting as if they know right.
This is why I say, when they are in their training schools, right, to them, the normal civilian does not, or they do not know their rights.
Yep.
Right? That is an assumption. I can say it is safe to say it is an assumption that can be general. They don't think as the public we know anything about civil rights or our rights as a citizen of Jamaica. Right? And that is why they deal with us any and any. Oh, right? Because me and you, we look the same way. Majority of the population is black. Right? And you don't know who I am. I can be a lawyer by profession, right? I can graduate with a law degree, but it's just that I am not working in a law firm at this moment. And you know that being a professional doesn't state that you have to be dressing a particular way throughout the day. It's by choice, right? So you don't know how a man will dress. Right, so even looking at him, you can't tell, say, hey, this man might be a doctor, this man might be a lawyer, this man might be an engineer. I wonder if he's versed with about his rights. Oh, let me try and see. Because if they pull you over and they ask you for your license and your registration, right? I mean, I think by law you don't have to even present any form of
and one thing that most people don't know, if they tell you that you have to step out side of the
then why?
You're not supposed to. They shouldn't ask you to exit the vehicle. And a lot of people don't know.
But look at this, right? This is the part of the law that most citizens will know that, hey, if you ask me for an identification, I don't necessarily have to provide you with an identification without a valid reason, right? But look at it. These are the type of things that escalates a situation, because he's here trying to do his job and then you are here exercising your right as a citizen. So what should happen in these times? So let's say I'm a police officer and I come over to you and I say, Roseanne, show me your license and registration, please. And just as he did, I just walk off and you do that and you'll be like, no, I don't have to. What's the reason? Miss, don't say anything to me. Miss, just provide it. You understand? Like, where do we go from here? Is it safe to say that I can just drive off by declining?
No.
You get what I'm saying?
I wouldn't say.
Yes, even though you as a citizen, exactly. So even though you as a citizen, you don't have to probably present him with a form of identification without a valid reason. It is safe to say is that, hey, what is the solution for not doing it? Yeah. If you ask me for my identification, I'm not going to give it to you. What's the solution between us at this moment? Do you say, okay, so you don't want to present the identification, so have yourself a great day, bye bye, I'll stop someone else? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what is to be done in those type of situations? Because that's a problem. You can set up yourself to get pepper sprayed. You can set up yourself to even get shot because you can say you are acting suspicious. Yeah, you can say you're acting suspicious.
And if you know any right too much, you can get arrested too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's just presentation because, I've been in situations where I have to be with police officers and, when they are boisterous, I calmly and I represent myself because, I understand that in training school, they are control aggression. You understand? And sometimes that's a thing that can be, pretty much a two-way street. But, this is a situation, it arises at a very important time. So we have to know how to handle these situations. But
then I also have to put this forward as well. And it's sad to say, But as a woman, I will get away with a lot more than a man would. Right? If I'm telling you, if a male, no, let's be realistic. Women get away with a whole lot more than men do.
But hold on, guys. You see, the thing is, though I'm not trying to be double standard, but men are dying every day, and you don't hear stop the violence against men. But
you know, somebody said it to me lately.
Yeah, I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that.
Somebody really said it to me, and like it stopped me in my tracks, and I'm like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah,
and it's not like you guys are against, you know, woman's movement.
Women, yeah, it's not that.
But I'm telling you, this is a good topic, and we'll definitely bring it up for one of our upcoming sessions. I strongly believe, though, that powers that be, right? We talk about human rights, we talk about activists, and I'm so happy that this young lady had persons in her life who had connections, because at the end of the day in Jamaica, guys, that's what it comes back down to. It doesn't matter what you want to think. This is normal
social networking, man.
This person has connections, and it is from the connections, the powers that be, that she was able to hear her story, and I'm super glad for that. And so I would like for the powers that be to make the necessary, you know, arrangements to educate the public. At the end of the day, we understand our people. We know this particular generation probably is the generation that has more persons going to high school, more persons going to college. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so many have been dropped out of school. So we know we're receding as a country when it comes down to education based on the limitations because of the online platform. So to the powers that be, we are imploring you, not just make the gazettes available for us to read. Do not just make the legal documents available for us to read, because as educated as I am, I'm not a lawyer. And we may come up here and discuss something and people might be wondering, what are they saying? It's not written like that. But it's the way we understand it. So we are asking the relevant authorities to keep the public informed, because that is the only way we cannot repeat history. Once you're educated,
I can make a suggestion.
That's the only way. Go ahead, Taylor.
We can make a suggestion. So the government has come up with creative ways of informing persons of doing things. So we have an ad on TV about paying your property taxes. We have the ad about the cat for paying your JPS bill and not bridging light. We can make ads to inform the John Q public about, okay, these are your rights. This is how you go about doing certain things.
Yep. And it be saturated throughout the media, not just one place. So some person might say, oh, what are they talking about their ads? We don't see it. So because we don't see it, we're asking for it. If you know where it is, leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe, people. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you for checking in with Critical Minds with Rosa. Check it.